When solving an equation with brackets, simply multiply out the brackets and then solve using your preferred method. So for example, if we want to solve 4 lots of 2q plus 3 equals 20, multiplying out the brackets gives us 8q plus 12 equals 20, and then we can rearrange, giving us 8q equals 8, so therefore q equals 1. So let's take a look at our first example together. The first one is 4 lots of 3x minus 7 equals 20. So remember, the only difference with these questions is we have to multiply out the bracket and then we can use whichever method we prefer to find our solution. So multiplying out this bracket, 4 lots of 3x gives me 12x, and 4 lots of negative 7 give me negative 28 equal to 20. And now we can solve using our preferred method. So I'm going to use the balance method. I'm going to add 28 to both sides to give me 12x equals 48. And now I've got it in this form. It's quite easy to see that x would be equal to 4. Another example, this time with brackets and unknowns on both sides. So it's kind of incorporating the two things that we've just seen. So 5 lots of x minus 2 equals 6 lots of 2 minus x. So before we do anything else, we're going to multiply out both sets of brackets. Left-hand side is going to give me 5x minus 10. Right-hand side, 12 minus 6x. So now I've got an equation with x's on both sides. Now, although there's a 6 in front of this x, because there's a negative there, it makes sense to bring this over to the left-hand side, because then my x's will stay positive. So I'm now going to bring my minus 6x over to this side, giving me plus 6x when I take it over, and my minus 10 will be coming over this side and becoming, remember, plus 10 when I take it over. Let's tidy that up. 5x plus 6x is now going to equal 12 plus 10. Now you don't need to write in those arrows every time you do it. I'm doing it just to show you the process that I'm going through. If you're happy with just swapping them over and making sure you change the signs, that's fine. 5x plus 6x gives me 11x, and 12 plus 10 gives me 22. So I can now see that my final solution, therefore, is x equals 2. Okay, so our final example is going to be this one. 5 lots of 2x minus 1 equals 8 lots of x plus 1 minus 2. So we've got quite a few things going on in this question, but remember the first thing we've always got to do is to multiply out those brackets. So our left-hand side will give us 10x minus 5 when I've multiplied it out. Right-hand side, that's going to give me 8x plus 8. And don't forget this minus 2 that we had there, because that's going to be used now when we simplify and collect our like terms together. Let's rewrite first of all. As that will tidy up that 8 subtract 2 on the right-hand side before we move things over. So I'm going to swap my minus 5 and my 8x. Minus 5, remember, when it comes over, will be plus 5. And the 8x, when it comes over, will become minus 8x. So my left-hand side will now be 10x subtract 8x. And that's going to be equal to 5 plus 6. 10x take away 8x is 2x. And 5 plus 6 is 11. So once again, you'll probably be able to tell from this final part of the equation that x is not going to be a whole number. So in this case, x will be 11 over 2, which we can simplify or leave it like that, to 5.5. We're now going to look at some of the most complicated questions you'll have when it comes to equations, and that's equations that involve fractions, because fractions with algebra require a very systematic approach in order to be able to solve them effectively. And it's important to have this approach, but also to show all you're working out in order to get full marks. So we're going to do some examples on the board together for this to make sure you really understand it. The first one we'll have a look at is this one here. 2 lots of x plus 3 over 5 equals minus 4. Now, when we have a fraction with algebra, all we have to remember is that this line of the fraction represents divide. So if we want to get rid of it, either using the reverse method or the balance method, all we need to do is the opposite of divide by 5, which in this case is multiply by 5. So if I multiply both sides by 5, this one will become 2 lots of x plus 3, because the times 5 has got rid of that divide by 5 for us. And our right-hand side, minus 4 multiplied by 5, is minus 20. And now we've changed it into an equation that has brackets in it. And we've just seen how to work those out. Multiply out the brackets to give us 2x plus 6 equals minus 20. And then whichever is your preferred method for solving, you can use now. So 2x therefore will be minus 26. So therefore our final answer, x, will be equal to minus 13. So let's have a look at another question that involves an algebraic fraction and a bracket. So in this question we have x minus 3 over 5 equals 2 lots of 3 minus x. Now again, remember that systematic approach that we should always use. We could multiply by 5, but I think it's better to multiply out our bracket first and then we'll multiply by 5. So x minus 3 over 5 stays where it is. And this, when I multiply it out, gives me 6 minus 2x. Now I'm going to multiply both sides by 5. So remember, when I multiply this by 5, I'll just be left with x minus 3. The divide by 5 will have disappeared. And multiplying this side by 5 gives me 30 minus 10x. Now, rearranging, getting all my letters on one side, the numbers on the other, minus 3 will come over this side and become plus 3, and minus 10x will come over and become plus 10x. So, writing what we've got now, we've got x plus 10x equals 30 plus 3. When I tidy up both sides, will give me 11x equals 33. Now I can see my solution is x equals 3. So the last question we'll look at in this part will be probably one of the hardest ones you'll get. So this one is 2x minus 1 over 3 plus x plus 1 over 5 equals x over 15. So we've now got 3 terms that all have fractions in them. So we have to be very careful about how we solve this. Now, when we want to solve this particular equation, we don't want to have to multiply everything by 3, then everything by 5, then everything by 15. If we can find the lowest common multiple of the 3 denominators we have, we can just multiply by one number and all the denominators will disappear. So if we look at the denominators we have, 3, 5 and 15, the lowest common multiple of those numbers is 15. So I'm now going to multiply each fraction by 15. If I multiply that right-hand side by 15, you should see that I'm just going to be left with x, because the 15 will disappear when I multiply by 15. Now, what happens when I multiply these ones by 15? Well, let's think about it. If it's being divided by 3 and I multiply it by 15, then that means the top part of my fraction is going to be multiplied by 5. because 3 lots of 5 is 15. So if I multiply that divide by 3 by 15, I'll get 5 lots on the top. Similarly, if I multiply that denominator of 5 by 15, it will leave me with 3 lots of what's on top. So notice when 15's on the bottom, it disappears. When 5's on the bottom and I multiply by 15, it leaves me with 3 on the top, because 3 5s are 15. And when I multiply the 3 on the bottom by 15, it leaves me with 5 on the top, again, because 5 3s are 15. So you can see I've now got rid of that denominator all in one go. Now I can just multiply out the brackets, rearrange and solve. So multiplying out this bracket here gives me 10x minus 5 plus 3x plus 3, and that's still equal to x. Now, as always, I want the letters on one side and the numbers on the other. So let's tidy things up a bit here. I've got on my left-hand side here, 13x minus 5 plus 3 is minus 2 equal to x. So I'm going to need to bring my minus 2 over to the right-hand side, but also bring this x over here, giving me 13x minus x equals 2 when I've swapped them over and changed their signs. Simplifying this gives me 12x equals 2. Now obviously this isn't going to be a whole number either, it's actually going to be a fraction answer again. So x equals 2 over 12, which I can simplify to 1 over 6. So as I said, this is one of the more complicated equations questions you could get asked because it involves fractions on every term. But remember, finding that lowest common multiple and multiplying through by that will get rid of all of the fractions, and you're just left with an equation that will involve some multiplying out of brackets and some rearranging to get your final answer.